some good performances, like in I-League, for example, in the qualifiers for that tournament. This is a team that has some... I feel like their mechanics and talent seem pretty high. It's more with a lot of these up-and-coming Chinese teams. It always seems to be the decision-making, maybe the drafting that they'd live or die by. Like, looking at Tongfu Wenzhou in the last series, if eHome played it right, they would not have been allowed back into the game, just purely based on early game decision-making and execution by eHome. But then they started to feel a little shaky and kind of fell apart, and they let Tongfu Wenzhou back into it.
Yeah, here you can see their roster. I've only cast them a handful of times in I-League, as you were mentioning. Their play is good, but it seems like they sometimes draft themselves into a corner. They lost 2-0, or 0-2 rather, to CDEC earlier. I know Toby mentioned that they handed over a Drove Visage in at least one of those games.
Yeah, and Undying was one of the first ones out. They were actually banning Earthshaker as the #1 ban at the start, which was also opening up the pool a lot more.
Looking at their statistically best 6.84 heroes, it's Shadowfiend and Clockwork, no surprises, but Winter Wyvern is actually on that list for this team.
How many games?
I don't know how many games. I don't think it's that many.
1-0.
No, they're 4-0 with Winter Wyvern.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it actually gets banned out against them a fair bit. There's some respect there, believe it or not. And well, we actually have a draft here as we wrap up our player profile.
This is Vici Gaming Potential. We have already taken a look at HGT earlier. I think we've all harped on Air as their key playmaker and just the kind of the driving force for this team. But I mean, it's mostly just the rest of the team is stable. It just feels like Air is like the big explosive player that can just take over the game for the team.
Well, here you go. Looking at the draft, Queen of Pain and Winter Wyvern banned out by HGT.
This is going to be, like, I can't remember seeing a Wyvern ban yet.
There was actually 2 in a previous series already today.
Was it?
But I have very short-term memory.
I think it was in the... Dude.
It was on the second stream.
It was on the second stream. It wasn't this stream. It was on the second stream. I think it was actually the second series on the second stream.
I feel like we would have remembered if it was on
It wasn't on this stream, no.
So something different, though. We are going to see HGT bring out the Wisp, and it's not the first overall pick. It's the second pick with the Viper. They don't go for a partner yet, at least not an obvious one. The Bristleback seems like one of the favored Wisp partners right now. Obviously, there's Tiny as well. More so something we're seeing in the Western scene. We have not really seen that much Tiny Wisp from the Chinese team.
This was a tricky opener for Vici potential here. Like Undying Gyro, you can't look at those bans and say that's not the way to do it, but handing the Wisp over to HGT, that might be scarier than an Undying.
I mean, the other big heroes, you guys mentioned Drow Visage. They are both out there right now. And HGT are running a Viper.
It's actually surprising that they didn't that they banned out Gyro when they have first pick. I think they could have got that as a trade-off instead of the Shadow Fiend, and maybe that would have been a little better. I don't know. Maybe they don't like playing it. Maybe they're just Shadow Fiend fans. But it makes me, like, when I see HGT not picking the partner with IO, it makes me think they are actually looking for an unusual one. But Vici Potential still feel like they have to ban the stable one. They're banning out Bristle. I'm imagining Tiny will be banned as well.
I mean, it's worth noting as well, they banned Ancient Apparition on HGT's side, which is obviously somewhat of a counter to Wisp, but
I think they want Jugger.
If it's just a Wisp, it doesn't feel that strong of a ban. But yeah, if there's a Juggernaut that they're looking for, some other healing-based hero.
Necrophos?
Maybe.
He just feels so underwhelming on this patch. Glimmer Cape kind of counters that hero to a...
He's also good for him, though. Like, if you can run a team where someone else can get a Necro...
That's a good point.
Get Glimmer Cape for him, it's actually kind of cool. But yeah, I would agree. I think Necrophos really got hit hard by the way the game gets played right now. And, of course, the new items probably work more against him than for him, all in all. So.
It is worth mentioning Kaka is very good on Wisp. At this patch, he's 5-2 and 6.84. It's a fairly small sample size. It's normally banned against HGT, though.
Yeah, exactly. There's that Lena ban. I feel like we've talked about Lena a little bit. Haven't seen her played. Maybe one of the games we saw on the stream.
There we go.
It's coming. It's coming.
We talked about it in the last phase, but I think when you see the Wisp pick early, it doesn't really make you think Drow Visage, which is maybe where they threw Vici Gaming Potential off a little bit.
It really doesn't, but you can easily mix up the lanes where you can just run the Drow Visage on the safe lane, and then you can run the Wisp with +1 on the off lane. You get really, really stable dual lanes, because the Visage can harass out almost any support hero that goes in that bottom lane when you give it the extra damage.
Also, really good reason to ban the Brood, because obviously none of these heroes deal with that well.
Yeah, that was a needed ban. I don't know if VG.P play it, but it would have been super good.
What do you think, Sind, at this point? Like, you already see where HGT's headed with this draft. How would you respond if you're in Vici Gaming Potential shoes?
I actually think VG.P could pick the Drow. I do believe they could build a lineup around it that could deal with this HGT lineup. The problem is they might not feel confident with it. Like they didn't decide for it. They didn't pick it in the first phase. If they really believed in it, they would have probably set up for it maybe by just grabbing Visage first pick or. So either they steal it or they look for a really skirmish-heavy lineup. I'm thinking along the lines of how, what was it? It was Vici Gaming at the summit. They beat the Drow Visage. They had Wisp Tiny, and then they had Bounty Hunter, and they just ganked the entire map. They just emptied it for heroes.
They get a good gap closer here on the Slardar. Now, this kind of reminds me of RG Sports like TI3 era, where they had the Slardar, Darkseer, Shadowfang trio, and they just go for the big AoE wombo combo.
Yeah, the difference is now with this though, with Joe Range, with the change up in her abilities, that just those gap closes on her aren't always the greatest thing, because you're going to get gusted back and potentially just fully controlled.
It is definitely something that makes it a little more difficult to bring her down. But
Even closing the gap, like if you look at all the slows between Viper, Visage, and Joe Ranger, like how are you meant to get in close? And then LD can feel very happy about himself. A Darkseer is there.
I actually think it was the best possible pick.
it's also very disruptive to their safe lane for HGT. They have very limited kill potential on a Darkseer, it looks like.
Yeah, Vici Gaming potential will need their secondary support. I feel like their secondary support actually needs to benefit from Iron Shell for them to be strong enough in the early game. The problem is with their lineup, Shadow Fiend does not have a good matchup here at all. I feel like that hero is going to struggle very much in the mid game. So you need either to take over the early game completely, which Darkseer is actually really good for if you have multiple heroes that benefit from Iron Shell. Slaughter is a great start. Shaker is very unreliable. Then there's Darkseer himself, and preferably a third target would be great. Because if they just play a farming game, I can't imagine them winning this game. There is no way they can hold their towers against HGT. And
it feels like
they have no wave clear.
It feels like they need a really strong laning support, though. Like you mentioned heroes that go well with Ion Shell, but I don't really think any of the strong laning supports particularly excel there. Like Bounty Hunter is fun, but I don't think Vici Gaming could squeeze that in at this point. So they banned one of the strong laning supports, the Witch Doctor.
Let's go, Ricky.
Dazzle's out there.
I don't think that's going to work. Like, I could imagine why they would want it. Like, it makes a lot of sense to obviously get the weave in the game against all this physical range damage and to have great
Shadow Demon. Do you see Shadow Demon working here?
I think it's still going to be the same problem. What's going to happen is the Viper is going to get really tanky, and Drow is obviously going to give the R. They also have a Morphling, and we reach minute 15 to 20. They have their core items, Mech on Viper, maybe an Urn on Wisp, and I don't know, maybe the Visage gets a Solar Crest or something, or an Ags, and then they actually can't kill the Viper. If they commit into it heavily, they're going to get run over by the AoE or just the massive range damage that they have. And they don't have good wave clear either. So if HGT tried to play this kind of, like, if they just play split push or something like that, I think it's going to be really hard to deal with. I think this is the biggest element so far for me.
I really favor HGT
Yeah,
here.
I have a hard time seeing Vici Gaming take this because they need to play a super good early game. Darkseid has to have a major impact. Now they last picked Skyrath, which if you want an aggressive early roaming support, it's pretty much as good as it gets. It's not melee, it's not a good carrier for the Einshell, but at least it can amplify it a bit with the silence as well. So there is some synergy, but man, they've got to. If they don't play good early game, this game's over at 20 minutes.
I actually don't even know how they're meant to win 5 minutes in. Like the second these Visage familiars come up, the Skywrath mage can't be on the front lines.
Yeah,
because
can't be on the back lines either.
He's going to die no matter where he goes. At the Urshik, it might feel he's tanky, but once he throws out the Fisher, he's still then going to die because they've got no way to get rid of the familiars, and the Skywrath mage isn't going to help that. And the SF, back with the old version of familiars, then maybe yes, but getting 3 attacks into these familiars almost seems impossible for me.
Well, with that, it seems like everyone is favoring HGT pretty heavily here, so let's see if Vici Gaming potential can surprise, and with that, Toby, Sayori, take it away.
When would we ever say no to a Drow Ranger winning?
Oh, exactly. I know you must be happy here. The Morphling final pick with the Wisp, well, that's pretty fun. Allows the Morphling to maybe get a little more combative earlier, move around a little bit.
Yeah, and really that is a big thing with the HGT lineup. They're so flexible with movement, be it either through replicate or be it through relocate. They can move in and battle practically anywhere on the map. And any hero which gets focused, you're going to be healing them up so quickly.
That's true, actually. The split push is really just insane with being able to bounce heroes around back and forth. Looks like we could see a potential early skirmish breakout here. HGT invading nice and aggressive.
I love what they're doing too. They're coming in so far that they're making sure the SF can't have easy stacks, and also that means the Darkseid doesn't have a plan B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. HGT really just posturing aggressively here. I don't know that they really want to force a fight, and they will just back out after they get some intel. Wisp, tethers down.
Yeah, I doubt they're thinking their level 1 fighters are terrific. Like with the Earthshaker Fissure out, you can find yourself in a real mess very quickly. The Morphling's the only one with an escape mechanism.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but why take the risk? I'm actually interested to see where Kaka's going to end up here, because I was wondering if it is just going to be a Morphling out by himself, or if it's worthwhile taking the Wisp down south, because he'll have the early bottle.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. They have a couple different ways they could do it. Maybe they'll do Wisp Morphling offlane. That seems like a good way to go about it. Viper mid. And will Kaka actually hang around mid lane? He does have a bottle on the way, it looks like.
Yeah, he was able to pick up that top
Yeah.
rune, so he'll be fine. He's just helping add a body block for the moment. But noticing the clarities, which are also in the Morphling, it makes me think that this Wisp is going to stay in mid. Ensure the Viper has pure lane dominance over the Shadow Fiend. And that was actually something which we saw with the previous series today, where like the SF just never got any space. It was a priority to make sure he had absolutely nothing. And wow, Yang, he's only got Iron Shell. There's no Surge available, and the only way he can go is up, which is away from it. Okay, maybe we'll take that back as he manages to farm up his second level. ZSMJ only with the Aura, however, doesn't have the Cold Arrows, and XTT, not a happy man on bottom.
That was a risky play from the Darkseer. If he didn't find that level 2 right there, that's a disaster waiting to happen. But yeah, with the Wisp mid, like you were mentioning, it's less about making sure the Viper farms and making sure they just shut down this Shadow Fiend and he doesn't get any undue CS. Look at the score already, 4-5 on the Viper, only 1-0 on the SF. XTT, waveform away, but he's having a hard time in this offlane.
Yeah, but luckily he brought in a large amount of consumables for it, so he's going to be fine on this one. I'm still interested to see why Yang is making this battle up against Pretty Hawk, because Pretty Hawk is always going to have the damage advantage on him. Like, Yang, did he actually get himself a Stout Shield? Yeah, he got himself a Stout Shield so he can block some of the damage, but still, as time goes on and this Drow gets bigger, it's going to be more difficult for him to stand on this lane, because the Visage just slows him and forces the Surge out, and then he's basically trapped.
Yeah, absolutely. Running low on regen as well. Morphling, stunned up by the Slitherine Crush. James is there doing what damage he can, but waveform will keep him safe as we move into a pause. Kaka having some issues here. So this is...
I actually don't even know how VG.P are meant to be killing any of these lanes. It's killing off the Morphling on the offlane. Like it's already difficult enough to try and kill him because he's already got a basic 2 escape mechanisms, Strength Morph as well as his waveform, and then you want to add in something like Adaptive Strike a little bit later on, so you get a Positioner, then Replicate later on, even more of a Positioner. But in the early stages, you've got a Skywrath Mage as well as a Slider. You use your first Crush to initiate.
Yeah.
Where do you go after this? You're not going to be leveling up Seal this early on.
Even if the Shaker rotates down bottom, I don't think they have enough damage to kill him easily, unless he's in, obviously, a very poor position or too far forward with no consumables. He is running low on regen, and there is a Mango on the Skywrath, so there's some sustainability there.
Yeah, that Shaker can't find the ward. There's the Observer ward in the trees. That's really difficult to get in, especially for a Shaker, unless he wants to start like cleaning up with tangos.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to do that. Mid lane still disastrous for the Radiant side. Lin getting completely dominated. And that's really all the Viper needed, was just that early start. Now he can continue being a bully, and that opens up some options for the Wisp, who will grab the Illusion Rune at the 2-minute top position.
And he will. Just keep the bottle charges coming. I'm interested to see HGT's timing in this game, actually. What do you think with the timing? Like, is it meant to be a push into the T1 tower once SMJ gets level 6, or are they waiting for like the mech for Viper?
I was thinking exactly the Viper mech. Probably around that 9-10 minute mark would be what I would expect. Given the start that he's got, and it should be no issue finding that mech at an ideal timing. Kaka rotating up top. Looks like there's still some more lag issues here, but they could have a go at this Darkseer. He is pretty healthy right now.
Yeah, they could. The problem is still like that primary problem. The only stun you got in the map would be actually not even skilled yet, Adaptive Strike on the Morphling. Everything else.
What level is the Darkseer? Actually, he's really low on mana. They could maybe...
Yeah, let's just...
Yeah, all right, level 1 Surge. So we'll have enough for 1 Surge to get out here.
But it's still only level 1. Like, if they can wait it out, you've still got a lot of slow. Drow Ranger, she's not going to find a lot of levels, but she's actually got level 3, so technically you could gust it and then go into the cold arrows, force the slow, and that'll just allow time for SMJ to run after.
The Wisp also went level 2 as Spirits instead of the Overcharge, so they do have a little extra damage that you normally...
Actually went the other way around.
Never mind, my bad. What was the other one? Alright, scratch that.
But without Pretty Horse Soul Assumption, I don't think they got enough damage with the slow duration.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a lane where Darkseer knows he can play over aggressive. Like, he's got 8 CS, he's staying close for the levels. Like, he's doing a good job for the offlane. And as far as HGT's lane goes, like it's the same kind of thing. Like both heroes on the offlane feel like they can't be killed if they play the lane right.
Yeah.
So you got to have confidence in yourself to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the offlane morphling. I wonder if this will like kind of transition into a more standard morphling with the Wisp, or if this will be that adaptive strike, very simplistic, tranquil soul ring kind of a morphling that's fallen off in popularity a little bit, but still viable, I think.
It kind of feels like it has to be the strength morphling because
Yeah.
they just don't have another controller.
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
so use a morphling very similar to the Beastmaster, where he's had jump in, but you've got an ability for that now, and then get your long stun. You can control up the Slider, Darkseer, SF. They're the primary ones.
Yeah.
Because we already know the familiars and Visage can take care of the Earthshaker. And
Yeah, I feel
Skyrim.
like that speaks to HGT's confidence with the Wisp, where they don't need one of those classic lane pairings like Tiny Wisp mid. They're happy just to pick up the Wisp, use it as needed mid, rotate top, and then just have the Morphling do his offlane Morphling stuff. So, all right, in true pause duty here, Toby, we're going to move right into the effigies.
I'm going to translate that one as reach for the skies.
That sounds reasonable.
Looks good for me. It's better than our other inappropriate ones we had earlier today.
James. Okay.
That's one classy custom maiden. I always feel like though like with the gold, like it was the same thing when you bought like those little demigods.
Yeah.
That you didn't want the gold.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same. It's almost too monotone, sort of.
Yeah.
It was part of the depth of the hero.
Yeah. Like it's cool having the Jaeger's little thing to stand on, but like like the color has gone from life. Everything is gold and gold.
Yeah, some of the gold demigods were really cool. But some of them were. I think the Slark was the big one. That one was the most colorful.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's reconnected. That's pretty good.
Come on, Zero. Your best translation.
I
What?
think he's just saying, "You are mine."
I'll take that one.
That's a pretty good freeze frame. I feel like I need to make a new effigy.
That one is possibly the most generic effigy I have ever seen.
Hey, it probably says, "Hey, look, it's Bat Rider." It's actually just Bat Rider standing there.
Like, I'm simply this good.
Okay, this one's pretty cool.
You know what? That's a really, really bad way to keep force in your axe swing. He's holding the axe at the very, very top.
This is like a taunt. This is like a "come at me, bro" type pose.
It should be like two hands for beginners as well, because he's only got one hand. Fly kick. That's actually, I don't know if it's a fly kick, or if he's meant to be using his spear like a ballerina bar. And really, Magnus is so much more graceful than we give him respect for.
Doesn't his leg look abnormally long when it's extended like that? Look at how long his. There's no way that's.
Like, maybe he's like double jointed.
He must
on
be.
the front.
You look at his other leg, and it seems about half the length.
Like, his leg is big.
That is very, very weird.
Yep. It's like an extension of his body. That's
Rubik just snickering here.
I'm saying that translation is a chew.
Bless you, sir.
That's
ZSMJ.
what I'll go for.
0 commendations on that effigy.
See, no one ever remembers to commend the effigies.
That's true, actually. It's a rarity.
Shame you can't commend couriers.
Yeah. What curry are you rocking these days, Toby? What's your go-to?
I have a lot of couriers. Like
you shuffle it. You're a shuffle kind of guy.
Yeah, I have them on shuffle. I actually wanted to like destroy some of my couriers, so I didn't actually like the mammoth.
Dude, that courier.
I don't think anyone ever wants to have the mammoth. It's
don't think I have the
terrible courier.
I'm not huge on Lieutenant Squawkins. All right, so we're finally resumed here. 3 minutes in. Where were we? Yes.
We were at Viper dominating everything. And,
He found the word.
Oh, well done. Well done.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's a tricky one to find.
It's still 3 minutes in, so he has to wait till the 4-minute mark before the cam's going to spawn up. So he only affects maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes worth of the effect of the ward.
That's a good point, but
Because you're not seeing anything with that. This is a pure block ward.
yeah.
But it does give options now for the SF. But it didn't have anything for the Darkseer, but he didn't need it. Like, that was one of the things I was worried about. Like, the jungle was going to get very overcrowded with both the SF and the Darkseer contesting for farm.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened.
Not yet, at least. I'll have to get some stacks up for the Shadow Fiend. I mean, it feels like the Starkseer is doing good enough that he can stay in the lane for now, as long as he can keep finding CS.
One thing about the Skywrath Mage, like he's kind of been stuck on this bottom lane for a long time. Like, I'm wondering when the stacks and the pulls meant to be happening, because this lane's a long way up towards the tower. But so far, like there's no stacks in the upper camps. That one failed.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of Wild Wings there. So there's like, because that's another thing the Skywrath Mage could have done. He's just like, okay, do you have confidence that the Slider can go up against the Morph?
I mean, they're doing a good job zoning back the Morphling. He only has one last hit right now. I think he's only halfway through level 2. So it's It is coming at a cost, but yeah, you're right. Now that they're losing that creep equilibrium, I mean, all this Morphling needs really is experience at this point. I mean, getting a Soul Ring Tranquils is pretty damn easy.
Yeah, it's like watching a Broodmother play in the offlane.
Yeah.
It's like, you know the damage is going to come, you find the levels, you're going to survive in the offlane unless you do something stupid. And eventually you'll hit your Soul Ring, and then with your Tranquils, and there's just a simple TP in, and you'll be able to arrive with a big stun. And you don't have to wait until like you're level 6 like you do with the Beastmaster. You can come in a little bit earlier.
Right.
But it's just one of those strength-based things of like you got a perfect offlaner that can actually be effective earlier in the game without requiring something like a blink dagger, which is kind of like the problem we saw with like LC earlier today. It's like, hey, Legion Commander, what are we going to do? Well, you're not playing up against a Broodmother, so you're not flash farming experience as well as money. So what's your other way around this? When you get a blink dagger, then maybe you can duel. If not, you got to walk in and duel at 5% of your life because you take so much damage trying to get in.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how effective the adaptive morph is since the change. Whereas before it had no projectile, it was just that instant cast, and now it actually moves kind of slow. I guess everything feels slow compared to how it used to be. But I actually have not seen an offlane strength morphling since the change, so we'll see if it's still kind of up to snuff compared to where it was.
I don't think they'll have any real problem with it.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Still unbelievably powerful and still has really amazing uptime. Max stun for 4.25 and a 10-second cooldown.
Can we actually have a look at the Drow Ranger? Because we're only 3 minutes in. So I'm just controlling you, Pimp Uncle. I'll put strings on you. Okay, so we do actually get to go. Because I was interested to see what SMJ would do if he actually thought he would require boots. Because it's one of these things with the Drow Ranger where you can actually skip the boots in the early stages to get the second Wraith Band up. Right. And you actually skip Gust and you go in for the second point of Aura. Even to a point where if you're getting really, really greedy and you're just playing the full Aura strat, you can actually even skip a point up in Frost Arrows and actually not get anything in it. And actually go for a point up in stats. And earlier on, it doesn't seem like much, but it can mean the difference between First Blood or not. Because you're going to get your agility later on, you're going to find your levels anyway.
Yeah.
And movement speed is kind of like, as long as your supports are doing their job, you're okay.
Oh, XLL gets a bash on XTT. That's a mouthful. This Morphling's just a little too beefy. 1-2-1 from the Slardar. Interesting. I feel like you don't see that value point in bash that often. I remember talking to Merlini about this at a LAN not that long ago.
What was his thoughts on it?
That the 2-2-0 is better. Because it's just such a low % chance to get the bash, and that the scaling of the sprint is you take the constant amount of damage, so that second point is just I'm faster, baby. I don't know. I think it can go both ways.
I was really wondering how long this would take. The Wisp has finally joined the Morphling on the bottom lane.
Yeah.
This gives XTT like so much control. He's actually using himself to tether down and throw down wards. Nice next level, Kaka. But as far as this offlane goes, XTT can have so much more confidence coming in closer towards that Slardar. I say this as now he's backing up, so I'm feeling really sad about life.
Yeah.
But by doing so, he at least makes sure the Viper can get a lot more solo experience and not just the farm. Because he has shredded that mid.
Yeah, this Shadow Fiend, I feel like there needs to be a higher priority for stacking for Vici potential. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how much can they get this Shadow Fiend kind of turbo farm back up to snuff. 13 last hits compared to the 32 of Viper. That is... Oof.
The other issue is like all the farm which he's going to end up getting from the stack, it all is from the neutrals. Like that's not going to help him at all. And now you've even got Wisp moving in with Observer Walls. Like, he's watching every bit of movement around this mid so closely. I don't know if he actually saw where that sentry wall was planted previously from VG.P. But that Observer Ward for the Dire side is going to sit there the entire time. I think we're also getting some perfect world problems.
Yep. The Observer PC here is a total slideshow, so we're, at least this one's working. This is...
You have access to stats and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. That's about where we're at. At least it's working. What level is the Wisp now? Is he finding some experience? Oh, 3. That's pretty solid. Yeah, that's not bad.
No,
considering he's been moving around so much.
The relocate's not going to come online very quickly, but at the same time, like HGT are playing the delay game.
Yeah.
Like they know in the later portion, in the later game, they have far superior advantage.
Yeah. At this rate, the mech should be out basically anytime soon, unless is there any on the courier? Maybe a little closer.
He spent a large amount of money, but most of it's
got
on the
chainmail.
treads.
There you
okay,
go.
That's nice.
Got one of the big pieces.
The critical thing for me when I look at VG.P is when Blink Dagger comes up on Slaughter, because like HGT want to try and take this game late. Okay, that's fair enough, but when can VG.P try and contest that timing? And the Slaughter for me is the biggest one. The SF is a non-factor right now. Slaughter needs to make space for him.
Yeah.
And the Darkseer, like, you found some level of CS, but he's not the initiator you were looking for. He's the, I need to have 3 levels up in Iron Shell so I can put it on the Slaughter, who then blinks in to find kills.
Yeah, that's true. The blink first on Slardar can be amazing if it works out, but it can also be a little bit scary because you blink in and can quickly take a lot of damage, especially if you end up using Sprint. When you're initiating. They have a lot of burst damage, but here we go. XDT actually getting low here. Could this be the first blood coming out? Amplified damage from XLL?
That tether's there.
And yeah, the heal from Kaka is just too much. Now they'll turn it around. Adaptive flies out onto James. And they don't have the follow-up damage.
Well, they don't. If they run in, then they run the risk of HGT just pumping so much damage into them. They're thinking about it. They're going to come underneath this tower? No. But the amplification is nice, but when you got a Wisp sitting behind any kind of hero, let alone a hero like Morphling who's got escape, it's just not going to work.
But conversely, the Wisp without any armor, if they catch him with a Slitherine Crush, I feel like they can just burst down that Wisp at -10. Oh my gosh.
You're right. That Wisp is the best hero they can try and pick off, but HGT aren't giving them position for it.
Yeah.
They got this again, and then Adaptive Strike kicks in.
Man, this Morphling is just too elusive here. XLL, you can see he's trying to decide, do I want to commit for this? Do I want to farm? How do we handle this Morphling Wisp duo? All right, Yang, he's still doing okay in the offlane here, 15-0. He's getting at least a baseline of farm in this Darkseer, closing in on that level 6 mark.
He's kind of got everything he needs. Like, it's that third level Iron Shell I was talking about, and Sol Ring now.
Yeah.
He doesn't need much more than that to try and stay on this top lane. The one fun thing, though, for ZSMJ, and his CS is obviously going to reflect that, is 45-18 for his CS. The Darkseer gives Dro Ranger something which is really, really nice. No pressure in the lane, but a consistent amount of damage coming into the creeps. So getting the last hits on the Dro Ranger in the early stages is quite easy, but now that she's level 7, 4-point Sora, as well as the 1 point up in the ultimate, getting last hits is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Like even I could do it.
Yeah, it looks like Shadow Fiend will be the mech carrier for the Radiant side, and that'll be one of the bigger disparities in the next 3 to 5 minute window, where Viper will get his and Vici Potential will still be working on theirs. And if they manage to kill the Shadow Fiend in that window, he will be actually crippled. More so than he already is.
Kark is trying to keep real tabs on what's happening in the VG.P jungle. Walked straight past one of the stacks too, so we saw that.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen this patch how important stealing stacks can be if you can manage to invade and even just interrupt it, leech some of the experience. It's very valuable. Looks like this is up to at least a triple stack there at the hard camp.
Actually wondering if HGT have any ability to, they can contest the stack if they're looking at it by attacking the heroes that are there, but they don't really have great clearance on the stacks.
That's true. Not that much AoE damage.
Between waveform and spirits, maybe you could do it, but you don't want to really be caught with your waveform and your spirits down inside the jungle.
That's true. All right.
And that Viper is just... SF's at least found something after farming up the stacks, but this is a 10-minute mech.
Yeah. Shadow Fiend is on, I think he's going brown boots into mech, so you may still have it at an okay timing. Yang up top will get hit by the gust, and they've got plenty of damage. Pretty Hog gets the first blood with a big soul assumption. The Morphling rotates up, but I don't even think he gets assist gold for that.
That's that gust of Dro Ranger which kicks in.
Yeah.
So he had no ability to surge himself away, and he couldn't run at all. The movement speed was just completely gone. One cold arrow, one soul rip, that's all you need, and then the soul assumption from the Visage was the ensuring kill.
And that puts HGT in a slightly more advantageous position here. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they are starting to pressure that tower. Glyph comes out right away. Is XLL making good progress towards the blink?
He should be looking very close.
Yeah, about 300 away. So he'll find a very good timing on that as well.
Still, what else can you do with it? The Dro is now manipulating everything that she wants to. It's this ability to just melt down towers. I think Pretty Horse should also be rapidly approaching his level 6, so the familiars will be coming up shortly. Battling on the bottom lane. There's no relocate from a Wisp, but he does have XLL very, very low, and he'll have to TP himself out while the Skywrath Mage. I still don't fully understand his pick as the last one, because I don't understand what he's meant to achieve in this lane.
I mean, there's just so much slow and disable on HGT. You're just not. If he gets caught once, there's no getting away. So now Air, he gets a freebie there, forces the core back to the base, and creates a lot of space for this top lane push to continue.
It's a level 1 wall, but SMJ's just got the distance on it, so he can pump into the tower. And when the Familiar's up, you can control the creep wave perfectly. It'll still walk past it, but now you've got Familiars in the back lines.
Yeah.
And it's a level 1 wall, so if you can still walk through it, you won't be too bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. Half damage on a tier 2 tower this early on is...
Oh, I like the rotations around. XLL, this is his chance right now. The courier is flying over the top. It's going to reveal him up. He doesn't have a blink, but he can just run his way in, focusing on Kaka. That's why they seal him up, so he can't tether into this.
gust.
And he actually walks into the wall and kills himself. ZSMJ also on the run out of here. His 2 Pyrrhos currently lost for HGT, and Pretty Horse also going to drop. VG.P, great rotation, great positioning. And speaking of that, the waveform will let him out of it, but Lin had him XTT blocked up next to that secret shop, and they just chase it, surging in the Skywrath Mage, but there's no mana for the ultimate, so they can't try and capitalize on anything.
What a big gain for Vici potential there. That smoke rotation was perfectly executed. They set it up with the fissure, and it's as simple as that. HGT just getting a little too cocky in that tier 2, and well, they have a pretty big lead, but that will make a dent. I think it needs to update a little more, but
Yeah.
my.
It just punished the over-aggressiveness. Like, you're fighting in front of a Darkseer wall trying to attack the tower without having any idea what's happening on the bottom lane anymore.
Yeah.
Because you moved your heroes off that. Like, that was actually the first nice rotation I liked from HGT, where they pushed the Viper down to the bottom because they realized that Slaughter as well as Skywrath can't do anything to kill him.
Yeah.
So you move the Morphling up on the top to try and be there with the Drow Ranger.
Yeah.
So that was a nice combo move, but then they just overstayed their
And
well.
the problem was that the Viper's the one carrying the mech, so when he's not there in a fight like that, it's pretty disastrous. Here we go, smoke from HGT this time. They initiate onto James with an adaptive strike, but Fissure to break it up. Oh, that buys him a little bit of time. Skywrath still falls in, channels a Requiem. HGT, they're getting a little bit low, but now Yang pokes forward. There's the mech. They bait in the Darkseer, and it's a 2-0.
Yeah, that looked a little bit rough at the start for HGT, and then all of a sudden Familiars kick in. The Gust was great too, with the double silence onto the VG.P players, and now they're just pushing to the tower with no Darkseer, with no Skywrath Mage. They're not the critical ones, but I'm also looking at Dogfight with very, very low mana sitting at the back lines there, so he can't really do much. You throw out one Fissure and then there's still nothing left. There's no jump abilities. Maybe one point he might pick up his Blink Dagger, but you're still going up against a Drow Visage combo, which means you're going to lose all your Tier 1 towers, and HGT, they may just go for Roshan now.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, why not? This is not easy for Vici potential to contest.
This actually means too, when HGT go for the next push, they'll just go all the way through bottom. Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. They won't care about the Darkseer wall next time because they'll basically have 2 Drows.
Yeah, I think as long as they're 5-man, they can take a fight against Vici potential very easily. Mech should be completed on the Shadow Fiend. I think he got it a little while ago. Yep, and the Blink on Slardar. So they have some tools to try to deal with this. Is it enough? Wisp very close to level 6 now. That's the one piece missing for HGT, but feels like they haven't even been lacking the relocate, or missing it really.
Well, all the fights are head-to-head.
Yeah.
Like, HGT, like, if they get in trouble, then they can basically use the split push manipulation.
Yeah.
Like, you can have the Morphling with his replica doing his work and then the relocate in, so that's very easy to do. But for now, they just know their head-to-head 5v5 fights are like far superior for themselves.
So Air just picked up a Hand of Midas on the Viper to go after the mech. A little bit of late game security here in case this round of pushing backfires. They will have some sort of an insurance policy, and this will also help kind of rocket him even further ahead.
Yeah, well, if that Midas keeps working and then you can take out these early towers, like, your injection of money is going to be huge. Now the fight in the bottom lane, the Familiars, they're going to drop down. They don't actually find themselves a stun, but you got Dogfights sitting very, very far back. He's still got the Fissure. I don't know if they're trying to pick off these Familiars, but they wanted the vision in order to do it. The Slaughter still sitting in the back. The Requiem goes out, but no one from HGT has even really committed in here. They kill off the tower, and now they're like, oh, okay, Requiem's down. No. And the Familiars, they isolate Lin, so the Shadow Fiend is dead to rights. The Fissure might be splitting up HGT, but the mech charge will go, so all the damage is now being negated for HGT. It's a double kill for the Viper Air. Dogfight's caught in the corner. Soul Assumption will take him out, and well, they can definitely see XTT chasing them, but it doesn't matter. They lose 3, and they're going to lose Tier 2 as well.
The Visage Birds did so much there, Toby. Not even the damage, just the scouting intel that they gave over the tree line. Vici potential had no idea where HGT was. As you mentioned, the Requiem did nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
they fired it off inside the tree line while having the tower in the front, so they knew no one was there.
Yeah, that was very awkward, but the Familiars made that so easy for the Dire side. At least another tower out of this, and honestly, they can just sort of continue fighting as needed. They're a little bit low on mana, but
Just leave the familiars behind. I don't know if yeah, okay.
So they don't take the tower. Interesting. All right. We'll play it safe for now. They're not in any big hurry.
I wonder what items they're waiting for then. Like, 'cause if you're not forcing out the tower, like, VG.P is blowing their ultimates. It's been fairly well proven that they can't fight yet.
Yeah.
So what is HGT really waiting for?
I mean, they have a pretty core set of items. Doesn't look like anyone is partway through a next pickup. Dro went for a tankier build, going for the drums.
Yep.
Maybe
But she
Yasha
also had that before that fight started in the bottom.
Yeah.
So she's got to be sitting on a little bit of extra cash.
So maybe a Yasha could be on the horizon for her.
True. That's
But-
actually, that's it's an invisible morphling. Very similar to Wisp. You can't
it's kind of
really
hard to tell. I actually didn't realize it until
Yeah.
you toggled the vision. There's some potential setup here. It could even just be a distraction, so HGT can pressure the tower, and if someone TPs, or TPs rather, look for an interrupt.
So the hilarious thing is, too, with HGT, VG.P triggered the fortification before. So if they want to keep going, they can. They got the Aegis model for another 2 minutes, so we should keep our eyes on that. If we hit 19 minutes, then the Aegis is gone.
This is a really smart play, actually. VG potential don't seem prepared for this. They're slowly starting to get back to the base. They will get 2 tower kills, one in the mid, one in the top.
Do they just smoke inside their base? I think I just saw a smoke effect. Yeah, I think they're going to loop around through behind. And yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're looking to try and cut off HGT and split their team up. And the fissure is the best way to do that.
This could be amazing, but it could also backfire if HGT start to rotate mid and decide they want to do something different. They could catch the Vici potential team split up, but it looks like both sides will just sort of disengage here. HGT noticing that there's a few missing, they'll play it safe.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to risk anything. Like they're still the ones that are far ahead in this game. Like, even if the net worth doesn't show it, but it probably would. yeah, it shows a little bit. Yeah, they're still light years ahead as far as like their timings go.
They have a lot more to lose right now. It looks like Joe is going for a BKB next item with an Ogre Club picked up. So maybe that's kind of what HGT is looking for. Like hit that second Roche or get the Aegis, get the BKB, and then really look to take that team fight. Oh, relocate down bottom.
Yeah.
Dog fights. He's dead.
Well, you said you were missing it.
Yeah, well, that's easy. Not much a Shaker can do there.
Finally travel. You ordered a short jump. Well, I don't have a blink dagger on a Viper. I'm sorry. Like, it'll come later. I don't know if that was meant to be like 2 clicks.
It worked out. They got the kill though. Yeah, relocate just hasn't been a big factor. They've been happy just to death ball at this stage.
Loving the warding position too, which is now being highlighted by Pimp. Like, you're basically looking everywhere. Like any aggressive position you want to have in the bottom lane, you've got it.
Yeah, and that's the end of the Aegis. Roche up in about 4.5 minutes, so it should be middle of the road timing. Minute and a half past the initial timer. Vanguard on the Darkseer. Okay.
Synderen loves that item,
Yeah.
especially on the Darkseer.
Well, they do need... That's sort of what I was talking about with the Slardar, though. He went Blink first, and I'm not sure what he's going after this, but they need somebody to absorb some damage in the front line. So now Yang can be that initiator, and then Slardar can kind of play the counter-initiator type role. He should have a fair bit of gold stored up if he just has the Blink. Yeah, he's got about 1,600. I don't know where he goes next. Maybe just into BKB.
Well, BKB a good option to get around those familiars. But he can still get carted out by the Viper if he's not careful. So
Yeah.
the BKB could be completely wasted.
I don't know if there's a perfect item for him here.
Well, it's difficult to go for kind of anything else, because what are you going to do? You're going to go for kill items, and you're going to die even faster. So you need, I think actually, BKB is kind of like his only choice.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could always still go back for a Vanguard, but now that Darkseer's picked on up, I don't really want to.
If you can at least give him the Crimson Guard buff up, which probably
that's a
were.
good point.
I don't know if that's what Synderen was trying to say before, but yeah, it's just a nice
Give him the
transition
benefit
for
of
him.
the doubt.
And Air's already got the BKB.
And Joe's very close. I think she's only 400 or 500 gold away. So these are 2 core items that will definitely make this sieging a lot easier.
Still, it's this siege thing which I don't think HGT actually have any desire to try and siege the base. They have the desire to kill him outside the base.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
you find one, you find 2, and if you find 2, then you're taking your tier 3 tower 100%. You find 1, then it becomes a little bit of an easier siege. We are still only 20 minutes into the game, so the death timers aren't too long. But if you can find one of the big cores, like if you can get SF or Slardar on the sidelines, even if you're just forcing a buyback, then you just cripple their mid game even more.
Yeah. Looks like, was that a smoke that I saw just on the edge
Yeah,
of the
you did.
camera? So it's sort of an awkward smoke, though. It's just Pretty Hawk. Everyone else is fine. So
And plus familiars. It's Pretty
this is
Hawk
it.
and friends.
That's true. This is like a solo warding mission here. Okay, blocks out the camp and just gets a little bit of intel into that entryway there. So more aggressive warding coming through.
Kind of feel like they're just waiting for Roshan. That's all they really care about. Like potential spawn times in 45 seconds, to potentially 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
But okay.
Oh, now the Blink Dagger. So really good initiation for HGT now.
That answers your question about what type of Morphling build would you see? Does he go into a core, or is he just that pure
It's
initiator?
full adaptive, baby.
Yeah.
He's actually, you were right, he hasn't really had too many issues hitting stuns, at least on a couple of key targets, and now it should get a little easier for him.
It's not as powerful as I was expecting from XTT, primarily because like most of the time the fights are already won before he's done the stun. So it's not just this jump in initiate kind of style. Like like on the bottom lane it was this we all just move in together and I'll take one person out of the fight. Terrific, but that was all. But this is his time to shine. Like you got a blink dagger and you get a long stun. That'll buy time for Whis to relocate in whoever needs to come in as well, and he's going to get another invis rune, so he doesn't even need the blink dagger to set up.
Yeah, the only other item they could be waiting for is the Solar Crest on Pretty High. He's like 700 gold away or so. That is one deviation we've seen. It used to be all about that Aghanim Scepter when you have a Drow Visage just to get that extra bird on the field, but now the Solar Crest, it just feels too good to pass up if you can get it around that 25-minute marker a bit sooner.
Well, VKB will at least get to arrive for the SF. So there's no stuns now, which will get to control him. You just have to be careful about the physical damage and the Viper Strike.
Yeah, that's the big one. As long as he can stay aggressive, he should be in good shape. But if he BKBs, gets Viper struck, and then tries to turn tail and run, that's where things get tricky. Uh-oh, smoke broken right away.
He had to have seen the Morphling there. Maybe it was because it was nighttime. They didn't actually see him, but yeah, XTT just walks in, blows the smoke like a half a fraction of a second
now the
after
Dire
it's cast.
smoked. This could go the other way. Yang, hit by an adaptive. Uh-oh. BKB, used by Drow as well as the SF. They'll finish off the Darkseer first. And Lin, he'll just basically just BKB run away with Mystic Flare. That's not going to hit much. And looking pretty good for HGT. Adaptive barely connects on James. Nicely done by XTT.
Oh, man.
And the fissure, not going to be enough.
So they take the 2 kills I was talking about. This means they can take out the tier 2 and potentially tier 3 tower. Roshan is going to respawn in 2 seconds. So potentially they can also move back, but they don't know this. Like Roshan could be up in another minute and a half. So they got no intel on this. But more than likely they'll just take the tier 2 tower, move over and try and grab Roshan. But that's now the real first time we've seen the adaptive strike being that massive control factor, because it's such a huge stun and the range is crazy as well.
And that was also the reveal of the Blink Dagger. I don't think they saw it before that.
No.
You certainly hadn't used it on a hero, so that helped catch them off guard a bit. Now just going to scout the Roche. Looks like their team will just walk right into the pit. Another smoke picked up by the Visage. They are ready to Roche and then find another kill directly after, I think.
Try to spend 2,000 gold. I'm wondering if that's actually going to be the talisman, if she's just going to go directly into evasion. Actually, no, it's the Yasha. So look for Manta.
Yep. And just some extra agility to help up with the team. Easy Roche kills here. And Aegis will go to the Drow Ranger once again. ZSMJ picks it up.
It really doesn't take long to kill off Roshan when you've got a lineup like this. And HGT, the hilarious thing is, too, this is the second time they've been given this combination. I don't know if it was on the Dire side when they played their previous match, but yeah. I almost feel a little bit sad for VG potential, primarily because they managed to draw like the 2 hardest opponents as their first 2 games of the group stage.
Yeah, that's true. All right. HGT still...
looks like they're killing off with the radio.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I knew they were going to look to kill somebody. It's the Shadow Fiend of all heroes. He's holding on to his BKB for now, and he will die. He doesn't have a buyback here either. Oh, no.
That's that warding again for HGT really coming into play. At the same time, VG.P have been bringing a lot of people up to that top lane looking at the tier 2 tower. So looking for any kind of trade-off they possibly can. This money may just be like that over the edge as well for one of these critical items. I don't know what it is for... Yeah, actually, it's the BKB money they're looking for on Slaughter, and that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, he'll just barely get it, and the last hit on the tower goes to Skywrath Mage. But all the while, HGT, they want to siege the high ground. That tower gold was just enough to give Shadow Fiend the buyback, but Yang hit by an adaptive strike. It'll be the first to fall. The fissure just isn't enough. Mystic Flare is enough to bring down the Morphling, though.
Yeah, that's actually not a really bad trade-off there for VG.P, considering how bad this fight could have started. ZSMJ is obviously the one who's holding the Aegis, the Immortal. But that could have been a lot worse because VG.P were late to the party. They were busy trying to get that money on top, so the Slaughter, I think it had both BKB as well as buyback. That was the goal.
Okay, well, Morphling buys back to defend the top tier 3. That seems like an odd buyback. Here's TP'd straight away.
Well, they only took the tier 3 tower in mid, so like the chance of getting much more than that was low.
Yeah, that's why. And they were all about to retreat anyhow, so slightly wasted gold from the Morphling. End of the day, it's still HGT that could get a good trade out of it.
HGT might have also predicted the timing of the BKB.
Yeah.
Because that actually would have been absolutely horrendous for HGT. If they stuck around and tried to fight that without knowing that BKB is over on the Slaughter, they could have been forced to fight I would say underneath the tier 3 tower because it was already gone, but fight with a man down. Because they initially sent the Morphling back. I don't know if he actually left a replicate in the mid so he could jump back into that. Hello. BKB,
Relocate.
not really effective if you cannot trigger it. He will go down before he can even have a chance to do that.
And now he has no buyback either. He went all in on the BKB.
Oh, man.
That is part of that was why the old adaptive was so ridiculously broken, because you couldn't BKB react to it. Now you can, but if he's right in your face like that, there still is basically no cast animation.
Well, this should be mid melee. If they can move fast enough, or at least mid-range tracks.
They already glyphed, right?
Glyphs on cooldown.
No glyph, no sword area. This should be pretty easy here. Viper strike straight away.
Oh, look how fast XTT just jumps in. The waveform over the top. He's going to get just Mystic Flare down again, but Air Trick is his own BKB. Remember, they're here to do actually an objective, which is the melee racks. And ZSMJ again sitting on the other side of this wall. Okay, he should probably stop sitting inside the wall because he's just making more and more of himself eventually when they go down. Nice fish up with the raise. Kaka going to take a fall, but you've still taken out the mid ranks. SMJ, can they keep him alive? The Meg Charge, they turn around, trying to actually bring down XLL, but they only trigger out the Aegis, the Immortal. The Familiars are getting picked off, which is a nice thing for him, and the Echo Slam off target. ZSMJ triggers that BKB. They want to run away. He's got Gust. He can try and turn this one, but they're just going to let Pretty Horde die. Try and get SMJ away to safety if possible.
Not too bad for Vici potential. They get a fair bit out of it. Concussive does hit the Drill Ranger. They'll continue to pursue, but the Gust flies through. XLL will have a Blink Dagger, and he connects.
Yeah, he's underneath that tower. With the amplification, it's so easy to pick off the draw at the end.
Wow, HGT get punished a lot for that. They do get the mid lane of barracks, as you mentioned, but lots of casualties on the way out, and 1,400 net worth gain for just that drill kill.
No, but it's like at what cost though? VG.P have just lost their entire mid racks. They might have been pushing out the mid lane to get it back to the tier 2 tower, but it won't remain that way for long. 30-second stroke comes up. Visage will respawn in 6 seconds. He won't have familiars. Actually, I'm interested to know the timing on the familiars until they're going to come back. But okay, maybe this is the better time when they just jump in. The Slaughter Crush. Karko again in a lot of trouble. He was tethered up, and the Meg Charge kept him alive a little bit longer than expected. But then even more blinks in. Everyone just breaking every single fighting line here.
Dro up in about 10 seconds. BKBs, though, now on cooldown. XLL on the high ground. Blinks. He jukes out Air. And he'll be safe. Now XTT may be in trouble. No, it's Air. Whoa, what a vacuum. Right into the wall. Now HGT on the back foot. Lin channels the Requiem. Pretty hard taking the bulk of the damage. He'll be the first to fall. Morphling on the other side of it will make it out. But now ZSMJ rejoining the party. Air amplified on the backside. May end up going down, just trying to kite as long as he can to make space for his teammates.
It's accepting his death. Spent as much money as he possibly could before dying. This drone needs to stay alive as well as the XTT. Like, the middle lane might still be having an advantage, but all that was lost here for VG.P was the Earthshaker. That was the only thing lost. So if they want to try and hit back right now, then they can. They can go straight up the mid. But up against a Morphling Wisp as well as Dro, you might be a little bit more apprehensive about it.
Yeah, they will take out this tier 2 tower mid. Glyph cooling down, but not up quite yet. Vici potential should actually be making a pretty good dent into this net worth graph at this point. They've gotten enough kills that they are getting some momentum back. Still a big deficit, but this is progress, Toby.
It is, which is more than I was really expecting in this game after HGT's initial draft.
Yeah.
But this SS fighting a lot more. I think he's our critical factor now as far as the net worth goes. To dish out damage, like that's where I want to see him go next. Like, you got BKB, you got Mech, you got Blink, so you got positioning, you've got ability to actually survive during the fights. Yeah. Where do you go next? Where does your damage really come? Do you rely on the amplification of Slaughter all the time? Because it's also he's your primary initiator next to the Earthshaker.
Yeah. I would normally say Scotty, but I don't know that his issue is not surviving here. It's just not killing them fast enough. So maybe that's where you go for something more aggressive, like just an early Daedalus.
I'd actually maybe even think about the Monkey King bar, because you are looking at 2 heroes which could potentially go into...
That's true. There's already a Solar Crest out, so...
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you'll need to have that direct damage in. But with that, like, he's going to be looking absolutely fantastic. And if they can close that distance, like the Earthshaker, you got quad blinks. You got quad blinks on VG.P, and then one Glimmer Cape as well from the Skywrath Mage. But with the Earthshaker and the Slardar, you can basically lock down and control one hero for the entire fight, or until they're dead.
Yeah.
As long as you can get in before the BKB charge comes off, and maybe that's what it should be coming down to. Who's got the vision? Who's got the surprise factor?
Yeah, that's where the familiars come into play, just giving that little bit of vision advantage. We'll see VG potential smoke up once more as 5. They'll rotate through the mid lane, but HGT, boy, are they looking defensive. They've got 5 heroes turtled up in the base. They are ready for this assault to come their way.
Yeah, I think they've also realized too, when they saw that Iron Shell being created on the creep in the mid, that Darkseer was hovering around there somewhere, but no one's visible. When no one's visible, you do not come out and fight. If you still feel like you hold the advantage in this game, which at this point they do, but the longer it goes on, the more I'm going to start to question that. Primarily because they're hiding inside their own base, so they have to come out and try and fight themselves. Maybe they're waiting for Roshan, maybe they're waiting for something else. Even this relocate is flagging to me that they have no intention to fight. When you relocate to the bottom lane to try and push the lane out, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's something. It did make a little bit of space. I think they just want to wait out this next Roche, and it will be a fast timer. Almost
really quick.
Almost instant here after an RNG portion.
Yeah, but they're in position for the fight now. And HGT, they've got a really good position, because they've got vision more than anything else. So the wards are going to get picked off. They can see what's happening, and they send out Limb, which separates the fight up at the moment. XTT, he will get sealed up, but the early damage is already done. The Earthshaker going to drop. The BKBs might be expended here by both SF as well as Slardar as they chase after ZSMJ. They can drag him back, but wait for this gust. One more second until it's back off cooldown. But he actually misses the gust, so he can't buy the space for himself away from that Slardar. You still have only lost 2 for the price of now 1 as the Wisp will finally die. But you got a Blink Dagger off cooldown in 1 second time. Oh, he actually used the Crush too early. There's still enough damage with the Iron Shell from the Darkseer there. But do we have any buybacks? Nope, we've just got Yang TPing himself away to safety. And ends up being a 3 for 2.
Not a bad fight for HGT, but could have been so much better. You mentioned it got split up at the beginning. It seemed so advantageous, but for most of that fight, the Viper and the Morphling were just chasing the Skywrath Mage. They killed him in the end, but they could have made that a lot easier for the Drill Wisp and just jumped on the Shadow Fiend. They really needed air there to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But he still comes out big and ends up with an Assault Karas at the end.
It kind of felt like it was too far for them to go down. Like that initial Adaptive Strike pushed him down almost to the bottom rune.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we going to do? Are we actually going to jump all the way down to the bottom part of the river to fight this? Or do we move up? And then they were forced to actually kind of come into the engagement when the Slardar jumped. So the Slardar triggers BKB, jumps in, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to crush, I'm going to kill you all, so you can't kill off my SF. And then he actually pulled the rest of HGT into the fight. And that bought time for SF to then get the stun off him.
Yep.
And BKBs, and then he jumps in, then the Bash Brothers try to go to work.
Yeah, and now HGT will secure Roche for themselves. Solar Crest makes this nice and easy, and that's Roche 3. Aegis and Cheese will go the way of the Dire, uncontested. VG.P lacking some much-needed vision in that quadrant of the map.
Yeah, they're just too late to get there.
So, do they give Aegis to Air, or how do they do this? Let's see.
Well, they want Aegis on Dro. They need Aegis on Dro.
Aegis on Joe, Cheese on Air. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Because Dro's that hero that can get popped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's your Adaptive Strike again. Air's right behind it. That Blink Dagger Viper so quick to the front lines, able to keep up with the rest of his team. But Yang, on that run, you've still got the Morphling right behind him. And he's actually getting body blocked up by 1 his Creep Wave and 2 his team. And the Familiars are right behind. They look for the stuns, and they'll be able to catch out the Skywrath Mage. His Ghosted will keep him alive a little bit longer, but not that much longer. And then they bait the PKP out from Lin 2. It was just a simple blink in. The Relocate as well came up.
That's huge, actually. No buyback on the Skywrath Mage. HGT in a beautiful position here. They don't have Viper Strike. That's about the only spell that they could use, but isn't there.
It's so low on cooldown. It's already back off cooldown now.
Oh, does he have an Aghanims already? No, it's just slow cooldown. Yeah, right. Okay, there it is.
It's only 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's nice and quick. Nice crushing into this MJ. Remember, he's still the man holding the Aegis, the Immortal. Vac in. Nice one for the Darkseer. But really, what's that war going to do? They all get gusted back and silenced up, so there's no follow-up to this. The Adaptive Strike again being used over on Lin, and Air just keeps pummeling into him, and they've got enough with the waveform. The Shadow Fiend's down, has to buy back. This is the last hurrah. If VG.P can't hold them, this could even be the GG, as Air still setting in the front lines. Where's that Echo Slam? It's actually off position. It doesn't hit him, and Air has time to use the cheese because of this. Now triggers his BKB, fighting into dogfights with the Viper Strike to ensure the kill. It's actually over on Lin, and this is just HGT rampaging through the VG.P base with a triple kill over on Pretty Whore. The bottom racks will be mopped up. They can't go for top, but they can potentially go for the GG push.
Yep. Even if Vici Potential doesn't GG out here, that was just so costly. Look at that team fight recap.
Yeah.
What a trade of resources. And
Radiant's middle tower has fallen. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen. Radiant's agent is under attack.